Thanks for joining us.
Talkline Network Radio, America's longest-running Jewish broadcast network, the voice of the Jewish community.
Welcome to the podcast. You are now tuned in to this episode of our podcast. Today, we are going to interview some of the greatest and most influential minds in our field. And now, please welcome your host.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast on the air since 1981.
And we're back. David Rosenberg joins us. He is head of the New Jersey Jewish Business Alliance, also the New Jersey Jewish Public Officials Caucus. David, welcome to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Zev. It's a pleasure being on the program. Thanks for bringing me on.
No, the reason being is, in New York, we're used to seeing so many different Jewish organizations and Jewish business activities. And even though it takes place in Jersey, but it's New York based, but you are New Jersey based for New Jersey. There's a lot of business activity, even Jewish public officials that many may not be aware of. So that's why we're glad that you're joining us. Let's start with your business organization. How did they get off the ground and what are some of the things that you do?
So it happened 9 years ago. There was a new, I was involved in, I grew up in Union City. I was a little involved in the community over there, helping out the yeshiva and Atzala over there with like communications with elected officials and hospitals, law enforcement agencies and stuff like that. And then, in Bayonne, there was a new mayor elected in Bayonne, which is not far from there. It's part of Hudson County. And we figured it'll be a nice idea for the new mayor to get to know some of the, there's quite a few larger Jewish-owned businesses in the city of Bayonne. So we felt it'll be a good idea for them to get to know each other. We put together a nice lunch. We had like 25 people show up representing 15 different businesses. And, that went very well. And it was at the meeting that we saw the need for the businesses to get to know each other as well. We figured small town, small city, everyone knows each other, but we found out at the meeting that, we saw on the discussions and conversations that this is, something to be in, the future and more of an official platform. So half a year later, we did the same thing in Jersey City. That's when we got ourselves the name and the logo and everything branded. It started out as the Hudson County Jewish Business Alliance, which is that area of the state, Jersey City, Bayonne, 12 municipalities. And then, we grew and expanded now statewide as the New Jersey Jewish Business Alliance.
Well, the Jewish population certainly has grown, especially in the Lakewood, Toms River area. You have explosive growth. You have other areas too. I would assume with COVID, more and more people moved in.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, the growth of the Jewish community is, phenomenal and extraordinary. And, Lakewood, Toms River had a growth quite for a while already. But now if you look at different areas of the state, specifically around Linden, Union, that whole area is really becoming something big. And there's a bright future over there. And that's another aspect, another place of the state to look at.
Well, Passaic also has grown by leaps and bounds, that whole area. And you have a lot of businesses. In fact, what I like in the kosher food industry, in the kosher supermarkets, you started with pomegranate, and you had some pomegranate wannabes that opened up where in New York primarily, but now I know Passaic has also a very fancy Aisle 1 supermarket, which is along the style of pomegranate. So you see all these new businesses that are growing, and really it's a nice change of pace.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Passaic, you have Teaneck and the other Bergen County municipalities with a sizable Jewish population. So, the interesting thing is that when we started, it was more in an area without a presence of a large community. It was more that we, brought together the businesses so that in areas of the state that didn't have a large Jewish community or population, but rather we brought together the businesses and created the Jewish business community in those areas, so that we work with elected officials, government officials that normally wouldn't have encountered any the Jews in a regular day to day, because they don't really represent any of Jewish communities. But we created this voice for the Jewish community in corners of the state that does not have a Jewish population.
And one of the things that you do, aside from dealing with businesses, Jewish-owned businesses, you work with some other companies. Tell us about United Airlines. United Airlines sometimes gets in the news, not always favorably with the Jewish community, but I know they've tried before COVID. They were expanding their kosher selection and wanted to engage more with the Jewish community. And you, in your capacity, I believe, has reached out, and I'm working with United, correct?
Absolutely. So we reached out to United quite a while ago. Through mutual relationships, and we built an incredible relationship with some top United officials, and for one focus on getting for helping them accommodate the Jewish community better. So and helping them understand the needs of our community. Specifically when it comes to kosher food and other things like that. So yeah, as you said, before COVID, they had a big announcement. They upped their kosher offerings in flight and in the lounges in Newark Airport. They brought in fresco with great food, great kosher fresh food, and then with COVID, everything I guess collapsed. But after COVID, things came back, and they're back with great kosher food in flight in the Polaris Lounge, and we're working with them. So what you mentioned we had a great meeting this week with some United officials at Newark Airport from a lot of different divisions of the company, so that we could provide feedback. So we brought together some other community members that either fly a lot or have a lot of experience in the air. So they were able to bring real life feedback for the company and see how they could accommodate the Jewish community in a much better. And we had great conversations, and they took back a lot of notes to Chicago, to headquarters, and they're already working and implementing many of those things. Obviously some of them are quick fixes, but some of them could take months until they're
So what aside from kosher food, is that the main thing that you're looking for United, or what else are they looking to work with you in the community?
So kosher food has a lot of aspects to it. There's a kosher food in flight, kosher food in the lounges and the clubs. Then there's kosher wine, and then kosher snacks. When you fly domestic, you don't get a meal, but you get snacks, or they sell snacks. So why wouldn't they, especially in the popular routes where there are many kosher food consumers on the plane, they should be able to provide kosher snacks as well.
Well, do they have to provide kosher snack? Can't they just pick like a popcorn company or a peanut company where it has an OU or an OK, and everybody can use that? Then that shouldn't be that much different. There's some big companies that have kosher certification, so it would make sense to make sure that all the products are kosher certified.
Correct. So if they have those companies, that's definitely a good step. But then there are many that wouldn't eat just an OU. They would want, a kosher brand.
Even on peanuts or potato chips?
Depends
okay.
on who you ask.
I'm fine if they want.
Peanuts probably less so, but when it comes to pretzels, then it becomes already more pretzels, different snacks. It's definitely going to be more accommodating if they have some kosher snacks, or if they provide just like little sandwiches, if they can have kosher sandwiches.
We also want Heimish brands, like even with the peanuts and the potato chips, you want the Heimish brands to be available.
I mean,
okay. If that's what listen. if that's what the public wants, then obviously it's no big deal to, well, it is a big deal to accommodate. They have to be wanting to do so, but that they're willing to consider it is something very important. So our hats off to United, even though every now and then they get some negative publicity. Somebody complains about being booted off a flight because they're Jewish or religious, but overall, I think it's important to have that line of communications open, and that's great. And so aside from that, so is the food. What else is there? Anything about davening on the plane?
Exactly. Food was just one component of the conversation. Davening obviously is a big deal, which is very hard to tackle sometimes. But
They're not building a shtibel on the plane, right?
Yeah, funny that you say that. There were talks about a shtibel maybe in the airport. But
by the way, some airports have a prayer room, and you have in New York, you have even a shul where people can daven. So that's not far-fetched. Maybe not on the plane, but to have in Newark, you have a prayer area.
Yeah, that's definitely something that came up, and then the general Newark Tel Aviv flight, how they could make that better, more accommodating, and then there's the second security where that's pretty unpleasant. Thing that everyone needs to go through when they fly from Newark to Tel Aviv. They have to go through a second security, and then there's that's now with construction of the airport, it becomes a little difficult. So we did discuss many ways of making that better, and hopefully that's going to change pretty soon.
We're saying with David Rosenberg. He is the founder of the New Jersey Jewish Business Alliance, as well as the New Jersey Jewish Public Officials Caucus. I was curious to know about your political caucus because, off the air, I asked you, is there enough Jews in New Jersey in politics to have a separate organization? He said you'd be surprised. So surprise our audience.
So, yeah, I mean, in the legislature, we have around 10 legislators that are Jewish. We have one member of Congress out of 12, and then mayors, probably more than 10, and council people, oh, forget it. And then, county commissioners, and then you have, more appointed officials, government officials. So, yeah, there is a vibrant Jewish community in the state of New Jersey.
No, there are a lot of Jews, maybe not as much as New York, but a lot of Jews and growing. And
Exactly.
in fact, the head of the Agudah, Rabbi Avi Schnall, wanted to run for public office for a while, right? He flirted with the idea and then he stopped, but that would have been interesting had he run. And you have, so when you have the caucus, what do you do exactly? You have meetings, you have a statewide meeting, is it local? Walk us through it.
So it really started, there was in New Jersey called the New Jersey League of Municipalities. And that's like I guess a conference for all that's like the Chamber of Commerce for all the municipalities in New Jersey, and they have a conference annually in November after the election. So all the electeds are a little calmer then. It's the second week of November every year, and that became like I like to call it the political wedding of the year, and everyone is over there it's in Atlantic City. 3 days of the week, and it's during the conference, all different groups and organizations and elected officials host receptions and events and meet and greets and stuff like that in Atlantic City. I guess in New York, the best way to to understand it is to compare it to the thing where you go down to Puerto Rico once a year.
Right, they have all the elected officials. When you have a lot of the from Jews go to Puerto Rico, where they have the annual, where all the legislators are there. So you have something comparable in Atlantic City, and so I guess you're making sure that they have a Jewish kosher contingent as well.
That is correct. So for years it was bothering me that we have so many Jews down there, and there isn't really any kosher events, and it's other like it's not like in New York where you're accustomed to have even non-kosher events have some kosher food for the Jews that participate. In New Jersey, you barely see that.
Even in Lakewood, or Teaneck?
Lakewood, I guess, will be everything kosher.
You should be even Teaneck. I'll tell you. I'll interrupt you. I'll tell you a very fast, quick story. There used to be a bank in Brooklyn, in New York, called the Greater New York Savings Bank. No longer existing. In Borough Park, you had an Irish president and you had a Jewish vice president. I spoke with the Jewish vice president. So we're having an event in Borough Park. So the Jewish vice president says to the Irish president, "We have to have it kosher." So he says, "Make one table kosher, everything else won't be kosher." The guy was a smart fellow. He made the whole thing kosher, only put a kosher sign on one table. So the president was eating all the kosher food, thinking it was treif, and saying how delicious it was. I'm sorry. True story.
Yeah, that's how it goes in Lakewood. 14 for that matter.
Right. So here you have, but you did more than just making sure that there's kosher food at the Atlantic City get together of all elected officials. You have an alliance where you get together just beyond Atlantic City.
Correct. So it started in Atlantic City, where we just thought of, having a kosher event, reception. So we worked on that with some elected officials that are at the league. And we created this group called the New Jersey Public Officials Caucus. We made an event, and it was like co-hosted with all the Jewish legislators, mayors, and many other electeds. And, that went very well. It was tremendous success. The first time we did that was in 2019. But it was, so at the inaugural meeting, we did say that we're not looking, just to host once a year, a nice get-together. We're going to have a more formal discussions throughout the year. So, when we feel the need, we bring together the caucus and discuss specific issues pertaining to the Jewish community, like security.
For example, security, okay.
Anti-Semitism. After the Abraham Accords, we hosted a Zoom meeting with all the elected officials, and we had the UAE ambassador, and we had the Israeli consul general, and Congressman Gottheimer, who's from New Jersey and Jewish, very pro-Israel, very much involved in the Accords, giving a briefing for the local elected officials, about the broader Abraham Accords. And, it's more of an international happening. However, bringing it into light and how we as local electeds, local officials, how we can, help the Accords, grow and foster the Abraham Accords. And that was a very nice conversation. So we have stuff like that throughout the year.
So in New York, you have the JCRs, you have a legislative breakfast, and Borough Park had a legislative barbecue, and you have, different groups to have. So there's no formal organization like you have in New Jersey, but different groups will have elected officials and to mingle with the public. I would assume you fill that role in New Jersey. Are there other groups that have legislative breakfasts too? Is that something that you're involved with as well? You have to get together just for the general Jewish public to interact with these elected officials?
Yeah, I mean, in New Jersey, there is a void. There's definitely a void, and we're trying to fill that gap, so to speak. And there is the federation that does a pretty good job in that as well. But it's not really a statewide. There's different federations all over the state. So it's not really, they don't really have statewide events.
So it's not United Jewish Federation in New York. We have one, but here you have many different local Jewish federations.
Correct. And in New York, I guess there are too many organizations, and New Jersey has too few organizations.
So you're gonna balance it out. No, it's nice that you have one for elected officials, one for Jewish business leaders. What kind of businesses do you have? Is it mostly small? Do you have large companies? Because some big kosher companies have relocated to Jersey over the years. So who is participating?
So we have all types of businesses and all sizes. So from mom and pop till, national and, publicly traded companies. But with a heavy focus, I guess, on the way it happened, the way it formed is manufacturing distribution on one side, and then real estate development and operators on the other side. And as you said, so many Jewish-owned businesses moved in from New York to New Jersey the last, I guess, 10, 15 years as real estate prices went up in New York, which they're doing now in New Jersey. But it's the trend, the cycle, I guess. But yeah, so obviously there are quite a few kosher food manufacturers and distributors that are now in New Jersey. I call New Jersey the headquarters, the capital of kosher food, I guess outside of Israel.
Right, because it's so we have Kedem A&B Fish. I was at the grand opening where they opened up the A&B plant in New Jersey, moved from Rockland County. So a lot of companies have expanded into New Jersey because that's where you had more room and smaller prices, at least then. I'm not sure what it is today. COVID has changed a lot, and people have moved, and businesses have moved, and the economy is in a different shape. What's your biggest challenge running both these organizations?
I mean, the challenge is to be able to assist the businesses on a day-to-day basis. Every day, there's some other things that that businesses need, and we have to find the right way to do it, and to make sure we do a Kiddush Hashem. We make a Kiddush Hashem on the way, obviously. So
no, it's nice that you engage everybody, and you have, whether it's elected officials and business owners, all different kinds, businesses, different kinds of individuals, different kinds of Jews that are involved. And it's nice to have an umbrella organization. So kudos to you for having these two groups. And is there a third group that you're thinking of forming as well?
So I think there happens to be. You asked. You asked. The answer is yes, but not yet. We're not ready to publicize it yet.
What category is it? Real estate?
Not really, but more of a yeah.
But something where you let us know, and the first time you're on there, we'll have you back again. If people want to get more information about the New Jersey Jewish Business Alliance or the New Jersey Jewish Public Officials Caucus, how can they do so?
So our website is njjba.com. So njjba.com. And, you can always reach out to info@njjba.com, and they could find some more information. And it happens to be this week, we're going to be hosting a business networking event for the Union County community. As I mentioned before, there's a explosive growth in the greater Linden area, the community over there. So we're just trying to help and assist the community to go next level within the business realm of things.
Final question: when you have these events, you serve regular snacks or Heimish snacks?
Heimish.
Okay, just I knew the answer, but I had to ask it for the record.
But I don't know. Heimish snacks isn't enough for Heimish events. You need Heimish food.
Well, that's the truth is, and I go to a lot of events. What I find impressive when I go to the Heimish, real estate and Jewish business, you always have food there. You have dinner, usually lunch, but the dinner always lots of has cholent and kugel. Could be Monday night, but you have cholent, which I have no problem with. I enjoy it, but I'm tickled pink when I see that. I smile, but I say this is what people want, and you got to cater to the people what they want. If they want cholent and kugel Monday night, I'm game.
Listen, if the food tastes good, then it doesn't matter.
Then eat it.
Exactly. Sunday, right?
Exactly. David Rosenberg, the founder of New Jersey Jewish Business Alliance and the New Jersey Jewish Public Affairs Caucus. Thank you. And we're looking forward to having you back. Continued success. I'm waiting for organization number 3.
Thank you, Zev. It was a pleasure being on the air with you, and I look forward to the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to
Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, the pulse beat of the Jewish community.
For continuous Jewish programs, TalklineNetwork.com, or our 24-hour-a-day listen line at 641-741-0389. For past shows, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, Instagram, and all major podcast platforms, or jewishpodcast.org. Thanks for listening to the TalklineNetwork.com.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.